Episode 18, Lobster Tales, originally posted October 21, 2012. I once read somewhere that it must have taken a very hungry man to eat the very first lobster. Who would have thought that this oversized, bony and spiky insect-looking thing from the sea would taste oh so good? But I'm getting off topic. This isn't a food channel after all. Meet Clawful, the warrior with the grip of evil. As part of the third wave of the Masters of the Universe figures, Clawful, or Clawful, oh I just love those terrible He-Man puns, made his toy debut in 1984. He wasn't one of the figures I actually had since I didn't have many He-Man toys to begin with, but I do remember him making a strong impression on me through the cartoons. Unlike most of Skeletor's crew, he wasn't that much of a bumbling idiot. In fact, in many cases he was portrayed as being smarter and more ambitious than most of his fellow evil masters. At one point, he was even referred to by Skeletor as his right-hand man. Even back then, I knew that meant something special. Anyway, as much as I enjoyed his character in the cartoon, since I didn't have the toy, I didn't really care much for it. Add to the fact that the toy looked nothing like he did in the cartoon. It turns out that it was the animators who were wrong, as they based their drawings on an early Clawful design. He basically ended up looking more like a red lizard or a dragon. And as an additional interesting tidbit, although the toy design had Clawful sporting an oversized right claw, animators drew him with two similar-sized claws. They basically switched to this more symmetrical design so that they could easily flip over the animation cell if they needed him to face the other way. Anyway, in the 2002 reboot of the He-Man cartoon, Clawful's design was made more faithful to the original toy. On steroids. Seriously, look at how much this guy grew. Unfortunately, that wasn't the only thing that changed. Maybe it was the steroids, but Clawful was no longer the intelligent right-hand man of Skeletor. They made him into the stupidest of his henchmen. No, really. And to add more insult to injury, we find out in one of the few episodes to feature him that he was actually one of the stupidest members of his race of crab-lobster people. Talk about a major demotion. But stupid or not, his new design made him look infinitely cooler and more imposing. Unfortunately, for some strange reason, he was left out of the accompanying toy line. Although a sculpt of him was made, the line was cancelled before it could be mass-produced. Fortunately, not long after the toy line's cancellation, the Four Horsemen, who were the talented group of designers and sculptors for the rebooted line, started a static action figure line, or Stactions for short. These were basically mini statues scaled to go along perfectly with the cancelled toy line. Since they themselves were huge fans of the line, they used this method. Legally, they couldn't produce posable action figures, to release sculpts of characters that were never produced. And first in the line was Clawful. Although he wasn't an action figure per se, he was beautiful as a hulking red lobster-looking monster could be. They didn't skimp out on any details, and the paint job done here even surpassed that of the regular toys. When the Masters of the Universe classic toys rolled out around 2008, Clawful finally made his modern action figure debut. Unfortunately, by this time, the higher-ups in Mattel had retired the amped-up and ultra-detailed look of the 2002 line, and were going for a more faithful tribute to the original toy, hence the term classic. So Clawful lost his super amped-up look and went back to looking more like his original self, with some subtle modern updates thrown in. The Four Horsemen managed to sneak in a few extra details that the original toy didn't have, namely a cool back carapace thingy and an additional shell-themed shield that the original toy didn't have. Unfortunately, they had no choice but to faithfully update the original's goofy-looking head. This for me was the biggest drawback for the figure. After seeing their cool update of his head in the 2002 design, we were back with the big, black, bushy eyebrows that made him look more like a Muppet than an evil lobster dude. Fortunately, a few years later, Mattel did soften up their anti-2002 mandate and released a special 2002 themed head pack, which, as the name says, gave us updated and more modern-flavored alternate heads for previously released figures, like Clawful. Anyway, to bring all this Clawful talk full circle, when Mattel eventually obtained the rights to produce Filmation-inspired figures for the Classics line, they kicked things off with a subline called Club Grayskull, and thanks to its drastically different design in the cartoon, the dragon lizardy-looking Clawful was one of the first characters they released. And so the best version of this lobster man, in my opinion, has finally gotten his proper representation on the shelf. And with that, this not so clawful history of one of my favorite Masters of the Universe is done. So have you guys gotten your claw fill of clawful? Okay, I'll stop. Let me know if there are any other lobster enthusiasts out there. tell me your story. Thanks for checking out Stories from the Toy Shelf Redux. For more stories, please like and subscribe to this channel. Click on the notification bell for updates or visit my website at storiesfromthetoyshelf.com and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Until the next one.